Hi guys, it's Katie. I'm going to be answering question number 2. So if I have ever studied a foreign language, I have. And when I was in high school, actually the year before, well, I shouldn't say high school. I started Spanish when I was in 7th grade. And the year before that, they had French, but then they cut it. So Spanish was my only option. And I kind of didn't really like taking a foreign language, and I took it a lot. I took it 4 years through from 7th grade into high school, and then I had 2 years of it in college. And to be honest, I didn't like much of any of it. It was really hard for me. The first year I took it in 7th grade, I failed the proficiency by like 1 point or something. It was really hard for me. Most of it was literally writing down vocab words and practicing. And if you watch the video that I put for question number 1, flashcards are really not my thing unless I'm in a group. So that was really hard for me, just learning the vocabulary. I was really overwhelmed at the time, learning a new language, kind of not being able to choose whether I wanted to or not. And then having to do, just memorization for a whole year. That was really hard for me. I didn't like the fact that, we didn't have many projects to do. We just kind of practiced talking all the time, which I understand that that's what you have to do. But when I didn't understand it, I couldn't speak it. So it was really hard for me to stand up in front of a class and say stuff that I didn't know what I was even saying. So I ended up having to take Spanish 1 over again. And I did really well the second time because, I pretty much memorized all the words from before, so the first year. So, it was easier for me after that. But then I took 2 more years in high school, and then I took a year off. And then my senior year, I went back and took my last Spanish class. And I had a different teacher at that time. So my first 2 years, I had the same teacher. And then my last 2 years, I had a different teacher. And I connected better with the second teacher. She was actually her first language was Spanish, so it was kind of cool to see her bring in the culture into the room, which is actually one thing that I really liked about Spanish was learning the culture. And it's actually really fun to do different projects and watch different videos and make videos and going through the Day of the Dead, that kind of thing. It was really interesting to me, but still I struggled with the language. I could not imagine being an ELL student and coming into a classroom and not knowing anything and having everybody around you speak a language that you don't know. I would be absolutely terrified. So, as a teacher, it's our job to make them more comfortable in that position. So when I was going through this book that we have, I was reading of different ways, how to teach an ELL student or how to prepare to get one. So as I was going through this, it kind of made me think of when I took Spanish, even in college. I had to take 2 courses in college, and it was really hard for me because a lot of it is memorization. And again, in college especially, you don't know people as well as you did in high school, so it was even harder for me to find a group to study with. And so it often left me with myself, studying by myself, because I lived off campus. I didn't live on campus, so it was hard for me to find somebody else to study with. So I think that's where I struggled the most. And a few things in here, like it talked about illustrated vocabulary cards. That's great, but there's only so much you can do with vocabulary cards. So I think there needs to be more of that. And as I was going through all of these steps to go through with an ELL student, I'm thinking to myself, why don't Spanish teachers or other language teachers do these type of steps for their students in the classroom? Now I know all the people coming in don't speak, especially if it's the first class, none of them speak that second language. But still, they talked about like diagrams and forms and stuff like that. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in school, I didn't have any of that. It was literally just flashcards and movies, and that did nothing for me. And they talked about making songs and chants and rhymes and games and stuff like that. That would have sparked me to, and motivate me to figure out, how to best learn this. Because really they didn't give me many strategies when I was in Spanish. And I didn't fail anymore after that. I passed them because I studied my butt off, but it was just not like, I don't remember much at all. And I took 7 years of Spanish. It was just overwhelming to me, and I didn't like it very much. But then they talked about like having different seating in the classroom. So like when I walked into all my Spanish classes, those classes looked exactly the same as my other classes that I was taking. So it didn't really help when you just sit there in a lecture. And the textbooks helped once I got to college because I had examples and stuff like that. But in high school, I had no examples and no textbooks. So it's nice to have, those pictures or examples of maybe, what it is in English, how it is in Spanish, and how you can continue to write sentences like that, sentence structure, or be able to say it, similar forms that go along with that. So I liked how to close, I kind of like how they did like songs and poems in their culture, and then have them translated into English. So the thing that really kept me going in my Spanish classes was learning about their culture and all the different fun things that came along with, the language. And just to have that motivate me to learn more about it helped. But I think that there needs to be more strategies, not only in high school, but in college also, because it's just, you have to make people want to do it, because if they don't want to be there, they're not going to try their hardest. So you have to make people want to learn and be interested in the language that you need to learn. So that's a big step, not only in high school and college, but if you are a teacher, you need to make sure that your students are interested in it, because if they come in and they're scared every day and they don't want to do it, they're going to shut down. And it's going to be really hard to teach them. So I learned a lot with all of these strategies, and I'm really excited to see what all of you guys say on here. So I'll be watching for comments.